Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today for our presentation on the International Leadership Opportunities. I hope everyone's having a great day. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that we do keep the lines muted to help minimize background noise, but you're welcome to type in any comments or questions as we go using the control panel located in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. That being said, I would like to turn this presentation over to one of our members of the Leadership Succession Committee who will be leading our presentation today. So Rachel, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. And I would like to thank everyone who are attending this webinar this morning or afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're at. And again, my name is Rachel Chowdhury. I've been with Sigma Theta Tau for over 14 years now, and I have been in the Leadership Succession Committee serving my last year of my 4-year term. So it's been a very exciting opportunity and a great service opportunity for our professional organization. And so with that said, I'm sure that you're here because you are interested in providing time and service to our organization. And so with that, I would like to go ahead and share with you our presentation objectives. And today, we will be looking at the positions, elected leadership positions that are open for our upcoming biennium in the fall of 2017, and discuss with you or describe the purpose and the roles and responsibilities for the leadership positions, including the board of directors, the regional chapters coordinating committees, governance committee, and leadership succession committee. We will also share with you the time commitment required to serve in these positions, and the process for being considered for placement on the biennium ballot. We will look over the qualities for the specific positions and what we would be looking for with regards to desired qualities of candidates to fill in these leadership positions. And then going into the types of questions you can anticipate if you are applying for the positions and we get to that point where we are considering for candidacy. And we will also talk about the interview process. We will share with you some information about the myths and truths associated with the election process and hopefully clarify some of the questions you may have regarding running for office. And then finally, we will share with you some strategies to prepare for the leadership roles, and of course for helping you garner some experience related to the roles that you may be interested in serving at the STTI level. And on behalf of the Leadership Succession Committee, thanks again for attending today's webinar. And these are our current members, Dr. Suzanne Prevost, who was a past president of STTI, serves as our chairperson. She's also in her 4th year. We have Irma Jean Bajnok from Canada, Raquel Benavides Torres from Mexico, Jackie Casagnol from the US, myself, Rachel Chowdhury from the US, Jennifer Hatcher from the U.S., Scott Emery Moore from the U.S., Jessica Neighbor from the U.S., we have Sujata from Australia, and Agnes from Hong Kong. And then we have Richard Riccardi, who is our board liaison. And so I will start with the Leadership Succession Committee, since that is who I'm representing, and it will be one of the things that I could easily speak to, having served as a member. So our purpose is to prepare the biennial ballot, and we're really looking for diversity that reflects our membership, and to develop members who are interested in serving in the leadership roles in our organization. And as far as our membership, our committee, we have 10 elected members, and typically it's made up of the 3 members from the previous committee. So these are the folks who are serving the 4-year terms, like myself and Suzanne. And then we elect 3 new members for a 4-year term and 4 members for 2-year terms. So there are 7 new members that are elected every biennium. And for those of us who are stepping off our Leadership Succession Committee membership, we are not eligible to run for any elected office while we are on the LSC. So specifically, our role and responsibility in this committee, we develop and support members in leadership roles, and we do select nominees and prepare them for the biennial ballot. We also provide educational opportunities and information regarding the leadership opportunities. We mentor members who are interested in assuming elected leadership positions, and we prepare membership materials for nomination. So that includes the postcards, handouts and brochures, the application materials, and so on. We assess expertise and skill levels of individuals who are nominated for office, and we select out of that list, we select nominees and prepare the interested individuals for the biennial ballot. We look at the campaign procedure, so we review that on an annual basis, and we make amendments to the campaign procedures. And then during the biennium, we actually monitor the campaign procedure implementation. We also act as a resource during the delegate and convention briefings at the biennium. So as far as time commitment for the Leadership Succession Committee membership, again, we have 2-year and 4-year positions. Most of our meetings are held, I would say about 90% of our meetings are held by phone conference. And so we have about 12 meetings or so that run about an hour to an hour and a half each. And then the biggest time commitment we really have is in that 12 months prior to the biennial convention, because we are garnering applications, reviewing applications and nominations, and then conducting interviews of all the individuals who are potential candidates for the leadership positions. And so next I would like to share with you the leadership position open for 2017 STTI ballot. So we have a president-elect position that is open, a vice president position, secretary, 2 positions for directors at large, the RCCC chair, and then the governance committee. We are looking for 7 individuals or elected individuals. And typically we have people who are running for 2 4-year terms and 3 for 2-year terms, just like the LSC. And then 2 members who are from the previous biennium. And then of course our leadership succession committee. As I mentioned, we will need folks who are interested in running for a 4-year term and 2-year terms as well. And then we have approximately 21 regional chapter coordinator positions that are open. So let me go ahead and start with the board of director position. So our board of directors manage the business and operations, the corporate affairs of the Sigma Theta Tau International. They also oversee the subsidiaries, the committees, advisory councils, and task forces. The members on the board include the president-elect, the vice president, secretary, and the treasurer, the 5 directors, and then the chair of the regional chapters coordinating committee. With the president-elect, this is a 2-year term. And essentially they step up as the next STTI president in the following biennium. And in their role, they begin to learn the work of the president, and they also represent the president and the society as needed in several functions and events. They serve on the member of the executive committee, and they are also on the corporate audit and accountability committee. And this person must meet all of the responsibilities of the board of directors, which I will describe later. The vice president is also a 2-year term, and the vice president performs the duties of the president in his or her absence. And in the event that the president vacates the office during the term, the vice president will succeed into this role until the House of Delegates meet. This person also serves on the executive committee and meets the responsibilities of the board of directors. The secretary for STTI serves a 4-year term and is the corporate secretary for the society, serves as a member of the executive committee, and responsibility is to ensure maintenance and accuracy of corporate minutes. And they also established a quorum during the House of Delegates. The person will file all the reports to the membership on behalf of the board and acts as the chair of Resolutions Advisory Council and presents those resolutions to the House of Delegates. The secretary prepares official records of House of Delegates and follow up on any of the communications related to House actions. And again, this person must meet all the responsibilities of the board of directors. And then the role and responsibility of the treasurer. So this is a 4-year term, and this position will not be available until 2019. And essentially the treasurer serves as a key resource in finance matters of the society and reviews and monitors the utilization of the financial resources of the organization. The treasurer assumes corporate role in advising the board regarding finance and provides oversight and recommendations for specialized areas of finance. The treasurer reviews financial statement with the board of directors and also makes recommendations for budget approvals, amendments, as well as financial policy to the board of directors. And if you've been in a biennium, you know that the treasurer is responsible for presenting the biennial budget and financial report to the House of Delegates. They serve on the executive committee and also chairs the corporate and audit accountability committee. The treasurer must meet all responsibilities of the board of directors. Next, we will look at the directors at large, and this position is a 4-year term. They provide expertise in the policy governance, and they also deliberate the issues before the board and exercise and engage in decision making on behalf of the society membership. So as I mentioned, the general responsibilities of all the board members to those positions that I just went over, they prepare, attend, and participate in all the board meetings. They also participate in society conferences, biennial convention, conference calls, and other programs as required. They work with the Society's Chief Executive Officer to achieve the aims of the organization. They serve as appointed on various board committees, subcommittees, advisory councils, and task forces. So just like Rick Riccardi is our liaison for the Leadership Succession Committee. And they also support majority decisions, and they are in their role to respect the interests of the membership and, of course, maintaining confidentiality of sensitive information that are discussed at their meetings. And requirements for board members is to not take advantage of the Society's, I guess, resources, and also with regards to personal advantage of their friends and supporters. And they are required to follow through on their assignments and any timelines associated with those initiatives. We look to our leadership to make objective decisions on the basis of issues affecting our society, organization, and also of nursing. And so being able to have that vision and worldview about issues related to our profession and the people we serve. They also look at driving and restraining forces affecting our goals, our future goals. And it is the expectation that all board members behave in an ethical manner, and again, maintaining confidentiality of the business of the organization. So in looking at the time commitment for the board of directors, they typically meet face-to-face, and these require 2.5-day meetings. There's 5 of them in Indianapolis, and then there's a 1-day meeting prior to the convention. There are phone conferences which include orientation and up to 12 additional phone conferences throughout the biennium. There's additional committee work, as I mentioned. Board members are assigned to serve on 1 or more committees, and also as liaison to other committees and advisory councils and task forces. In terms of preparation, they are looking for 2 to 3 hours in reviewing materials for each meeting. And also, they may be called upon to represent Sigma at the national or international conferences and events. And they are often requested to speak at chapter events and or inductions. Next, I would like to go over the roles and responsibilities of the RCCC chair. And the chair of the RCCC is a voting member of the board of directors. And really, they're responsible for enhancing and advancing development of the chapters. So they look to the enhancement and advancing the development of the regional leaders, so the regional chairs, and they chair or lead the RCCC and support and implement visions and goals for the committee. And as mentioned, they report to the board of directors, and they work closely with the Sigma headquarters staff. They also serve as a liaison between the board, headquarters staff, and their constituent RCCC members. They prepare the agenda for the committee meetings and consult with the headquarters staff, as well as lead these meetings, conference calls, and focusing on the regional trends and also the best practices to support the chapter leaders in their strategic thinking. So additional roles and responsibilities of the RCCC chair is to establish those regional priorities, programs, and future directions. They also serve as a chair in judging committees for awards as needed, and they submit written report to the board of directors prior to each meeting. They work closely with the staff to monitor and evaluate activities and progress of the chapters, and also make those recommendations to the board as appropriate. It is preferred that the chair of the RCCC have the working knowledge and also leadership experience in Sigma programs and chapter development, as you would think that in this position you will anticipate questions regarding chapters and regional types of initiatives. And of course, as the chair, have the ability to lead committees, and proven success with strategic planning is preferred. So now, in collaboration with the RCCC chair, and they oversee many of the work of the regional coordinators. So the regional coordinators are the individuals who provide leadership and establish and maintain network for communication and sharing among the chapters at the regional level. And they are really vital in terms of promoting effective membership at the regional chapters, and also of the membership of the committee. The regional coordinators report to the RCCC chair, and they do collaborate with the Sigma headquarters staff as well. And they provide that aggregate voice with regards to the development of STTI chapters within their respective regional areas. And with that said, having a strategic plan then to implement and achieve biennial goals for their designated region. The regional coordinators facilitate connections and collaboration with the chapters that they oversee, and typically host anywhere from 4 to 6 chapter leader calls within the region, and they could also facilitate webcasts. And the coordinator also can facilitate or use the regional officer connect site at the circle, and this is a website page on the STTI website. They work closely with regional committee and chapters in terms of recruiting, leadership, membership, and also facilitating with chapter leaders in educating and assisting chapters with their strategic planning. So the Regional Chapters Coordinating Committee, which is made up of the RCs, the regional chair people, they are required to spend time supporting individual chapters, and this can vary by region in terms of number and level of activity. They are required to attend orientation meeting in Indianapolis in January of 2018. They also attend leadership conferences or similar programs within their designated regions. and attending the biennial convention, including the House of Delegates session. Now we will go over the governance committee roles and responsibilities. So the governance committee, they're primarily overseeing the bylaws and eligibility policies. They make recommendations for bylaws changes. They oversee the issues of member and chapter eligibility and act as a resource for the organization on the bylaws and eligibility governance. The approximate time commitment for this committee includes 1 hour, approximately 1 hour to 1 hour and a half meetings that are conducted by phone conference, and there's approximately 18 meetings per biennium, so over the span of 2 years. And the task force work may include assignments to subcommittees that look at the eligibility criteria and bylaws review. So that was the overview of the leadership positions, and now to the candidate qualifications. And so in order to be eligible to run for office, you must have an current active membership and in the society. And we look to members who have had at least 5 years experience or membership within STTI. We also look for evidence of previous leadership service in Sigma Theta Tau and other organizations, including those that are non-nursing organizations. Having a understanding and knowledge of society's mission, vision, and values and priorities, and also effectiveness in conducting, facilitating, and participating in groups. So as you can see, many of the leadership positions do work with others, such as the board of directors, the governance and leadership succession committees, and the regional chair committees. And of course, as leaders of the organization, you are our spokesperson and ambassador, and so we do look for a demonstrated ability to communicate both in verbal and written forms. Additional candidate qualifications, as you see here, are demonstrated problem solving and governance experience, especially if you are running for that board of directors and governance committee. Experience in fiscal oversight, so planning and critiquing investments, financial statements and audits, especially important at the board of directors level. Having the time commitment to fulfill the obligations of the office, and that's why we make sure that we review those time commitments with you in this webinar. Willingness to actively demonstrate and pursue philanthropy on behalf of the society, and the ability to place organizational purpose, mission, and interests above personal needs, or interests, I should say. So now let's take a look at a few myths and facts that perhaps you may have heard about running for office with Sigma. And one of the myths, as you can see here, is that only people with doctorates can run for elected leadership positions at STTI. So this is a myth. Anyone with credentials qualifying them for STTI membership, obviously, is eligible to run for any of the leadership elected positions. Again, we are looking for qualifications related to the position that you are running for office, and being able to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of that position, as well as the time commitment. The second myth, as you can see here, if you lost a bid for an international STTI office, such as the president or board member, you're not permitted to run again. So this is a myth. Your willingness to serve at this high level is valued not only by membership but also the leadership at Sigma. And we've had people who ran for office and lost several times before being elected to board positions. And really that time in between is used to further develop your leadership skills and also your networking skills to learn more about the office, the organization, and also your constituent members. Another myth is that one must work their way up in an organization like Sigma to run for office. The fact is that many of our leaders have gradually assumed higher levels of responsibility within Sigma, and many served at the chapter level, regional, and also at the international level positions. And however, some of our elected international leaders were selected by virtue of their leadership experiences in other organizations, and so they've gained their experiences in some other form or way or another and have proven to be qualified for those positions that they're running. The next myth here, it's too time-consuming for a regional or international STTI leadership position. And so with this, if you are nominated and chosen for candidacy, we do run a strict campaign procedure and limiting the scope of the campaigning to the biennium. The nominees are interviewed by phone conference and expected to be, of course, at the attendance at the biennial convention for campaigning. And even then, we only have specific events or times relegated to the campaign. The next myth, it's too time consuming to serve in a regional or international STTI leadership position. So as you have seen, there are various time commitments for the various positions. Many of the elected positions are quite manageable. The governance and leadership succession committee as examples. Again, if you still have any questions regarding expectations related to these leadership positions, you can contact the LSC, and you can see Bobby Arnold's information here, and we will be more than happy to address your questions and concerns regarding the time commitment and roles and responsibilities expectations. The other myth, it's too expensive to run for regional or international STTI leadership position. So again, we do have those strict campaign procedures, and at the most you will have a poster, and even that we kind of tell you what size the poster should be, and then your campaign brochures. And so it really depends on, you know, the type of material you want to use for those campaign brochures, but those are the only ones permitted. We don't allow any freebies or gifts or other handouts during the campaigning, and again, it's limited to just those times at the biennium where you can campaign and distribute your brochure. And if you are thinking of running and chosen for candidacy, you may want to reach out to your chapter and see if you can get some campaign assistance. For example, I did this. I was a chapter president at the time for my chapter, and I asked if they could give me some support with paying for my poster, and they did. And it was very minimal anyway, so you can certainly use that as an option instead of coming out of pocket with the expense. Another myth, it's expensive to serve in a regional or international STTI leadership position. As you can see, as much as possible, we use the technology we have to promote convenient and inexpensive communication method during our meetings. And when there are face-to-face meetings required by the position, those expenses are typically covered by STTI. The next myth is relates to the first myth that we discussed a few slides ago. Only academics are desired in leadership position. And so we at Sigma recognize the strength of the diversity of our membership who come from various backgrounds of the nursing profession and workforce. We also address not only nursing education, but we also look at the global issues that are going on. And so these are health related as well and pertains to the outcomes of our patients. And so we look to those long-term health and I would say global sustainability of our organization and the ability to hear from all of its constituents, its membership from all over the world. Another myth, only seasoned nurses are desired in leadership positions. Again, we recognize that our strength depends on the ability of our membership to meet the needs of nurses from throughout the career span. We certainly encourage our new members who are coming out of their nursing education as they are inducted in this prestigious organization to start looking for ways to develop those leadership skills. And again, the LSE is a resource to those new, fresh members, and I would hope and I would say that many chapters also support their new membership to grow and support their leadership development. And so we do look for various experiences related to leadership roles that we have available. And again, we would like to make sure that we are able to sustain our organization as we develop and groom a new generation of nurse leaders. Only nurse leaders or only nurses from the U.S. are desired in leadership positions. So again, us being an international organization, we look for that diversity, and we encourage all active members from all over the world to consider running for elected leadership positions. And as you can see, even within the LSC, we have members from Asia, from Australia, and from Canada. And so we are really looking for ways that we can diversify our leadership to represent our organization. And of course, we value the diverse perspectives as we move forward with our organizational goals that impact global health issues. The next myth that you see here, I'm ineligible to run for an elected leadership position at STTI because I served as a LSC member in the last or previous biennium. So those who are currently serving on the committee, such as myself, and I cannot run for office even though I will be stepping off my committee role. And that's because we vet the nominees and the candidates for the ballot. And so obviously that would be a conflict of interest on my part to run for office. And I hope that makes sense. Now, if you've been off the Leadership Succession Committee for a while, then you may consider running for office. The next myth, I'm ineligible to run for an STTI office because I have not obtained endorsement from my chapter. So chapter endorsement is not required to run for office, but many of the nominees do ask for that support from their chapter and constituent membership to strengthen their position. And then again, as mentioned earlier, you can use this chapter endorsement to obtain financial support as you run for office. Okay, so the last piece that I'm presenting here are some strategies for you to prepare for elected leadership at STTI. So one of the things you can do, if you haven't done so already, is lead at the local level. And you don't even have to be at the chapter board. You could serve as a member of task force or promote some activity or project that's sponsored by the chapter. And of course, attending your chapter meetings is very important to stay involved and stay active within Sigma at your chapter. And being aware of leadership opportunities out there, use your radar and look for diversifying your leadership skills. So if you're really good at networking, look for opportunities where you can enhance that skill, and at the same time look for ways to develop other skills such as your communication, organizational skills, time management, and so on. So again, look for opportunities for you to be able to garner these soft skills, as well as promote your or determine your leadership style with regards to serving in an elected position. I really like number 3. I think this is one of the biggest influences for me being in leadership position in Sigma, finding a mentor and being a mentor, building those relationships for the journey. And I'm going to share with you, I did not really get interested at the Sigma international level until I was approached by our regional chair, who encouraged me to look for ways to serve, volunteer with initiatives at the chapter level and as well as the regional level, and then getting my feet wet with the international level, participating at the conferences as a volunteer. I volunteered at the registration desk. I've moderated presentations during the biennium and the research congress, and so having a mentor to kind of help guide you in terms of what kinds of activities you can be involved with at the chapter, regional, and or international levels to help serve your interests in being a leader in Sigma. And that's another way you could network with membership too. Okay, chop wood and carry water. So do the work. And also maintaining your active membership. So we do have annual dues to maintain our active membership within Sigma. And I think that just goes to show about your being a responsible person. Show up and raise your hand. So I've been talking about volunteerism. So there's many opportunities for you to volunteer within your chapter and also with Sigma. And that's one way you can be fully engaged and you can contribute and demonstrate initiative towards being a leader. Engage to connect, so building that network. We have the circle, which you can use to connect with other leaders within our organization. And that's also another place where you could look for mentors. So attend and be admired. Nurses admire STTI leaders both at the local and international levels, and that's how I got to know many of our leadership, is just by interacting with them. So when I attend the convention, I make sure that I visit, at least say hi to our STTI president, and our CEO, and others within our organization. And sometimes, you could just make a quick suggestion or idea that you're providing input to the organization, and at that level, which is really an amazing experience, because our leadership, our Sigma leadership, are very experienced leaders, and they do take the time to listen to ideas and concerns of its constituent members. So again, just making sure that you are finding somebody that you can look up to and ask for any mentoring needs if you are interested. And then appreciating excellence. As you can see here, hard work's a gift to the profession and recognition follows. And so many of the volunteer activities, including any chapter leadership positions that you've served in, really work to your advantage in terms of not only gaining the experience, but being recognized, because you are building that network and that you are collaborating and working with other leaders within your local and regional, and of course international, if you are involved in those task forces. Packed for the journey. It's good to have an idea of what your personal and organizational goals are in relation to STTI. So again, it would be good to look at our mission and vision and values and start outlining or putting down your ideas on paper, and really solidify that interest in terms of how you would want to serve in this leadership position, and on how you're going to implement some of the ideas that you may have regarding the work of the organization from the perspective of the leadership position you are interested in. And then finally, arriving at the destination with your map in hand. Your goal is to be elected for a leadership position in Sigma, and while you are in that position and serving in that position, you do the work, and always looking forward to see where you can take that experience and the work that you've done for the next opportunity. And it may not be necessarily clear in terms of the next leadership position within Sigma, but obviously in your profession, our nursing, and how we can serve nursing as a whole, and how we can continue to promote Sigma's mission and vision in the future. And so I think that's the end of the kind of like the formal information about the leadership positions at STTI. So I would like to share with you what are the next steps. So you are interested and you have a pretty good idea of what leadership position you would like to run for and be considered for. You may submit names of potential candidates, and we do accept self-nomination. You can submit that information via email to Bobby Arnold. Her email's right here. And our due date for submission is November 30th of 2016. Once we've received all the names, so once we've closed out the nominations, we will review interest and will be considered by the committee. And then we will select the slates of candidates for ballot, and well, before we get to the ballot, I should say, we will look at the nominees and conduct interviews for the respective positions. And then once we've conducted the interview, the Leadership Succession Committee will reassess the candidates and then present a slate of final candidates for ballot. We will be submitting those names to the Board of Directors for their review and approval by June of 2017. All right, so we have about 10 minutes for Q&A, and so I would like to open the floor for some questions. And by the way, before I move on, do I have any other Leadership Succession Committee members at the webinar in attendance?
We don't have any additional Leadership Succession Committee members on the line, but we do have several questions in the queue that I can go ahead and start reading those to you.
Great. Thank you, Michelle.
First, we have a question. If someone is slated on the ballot and they are elected, are they able to serve their chapter at the same time? So could they hold an international office as well as be a chapter leader?
And yes, you can. Again, it will really depend on the level of commitment or time commitment required for those positions. So obviously you could see that the Board of Directors position may be a little bit more time intensive, I should say. But I've done that actually. I've served on the Leadership Succession Committee and then served as a secretary for my local chapter. So it kept me involved at the local level and as well as served the organization at the international level. Great question. Thank you.
All right. And if the person is not able to attend the biennial convention, are they still allowed to run for a position?
I believe we've had instances where the person cannot be in attendance or something came up and they were not able to make the biennium. And so they can still run for office. They will be on the ballot. We will have their bias sketch available for the House of Delegates for consideration. The drawback about that, though, is that you will not have that representation and meet your constituents, especially if you're running for a regional chair position, and meeting them, face to face to answer any questions during the actual campaigning at the biennium. I believe last biennium we had candidates who are not able to be present in person, but we were still able to put their posters up, and so at least people could read up on their bias sketch.
Great. We have another question about some of the interview questions that might be expected.
Okay.
And I can send those over to you, Rachel, to read out loud.
Yeah, so some of the questions that we do ask during the interview is related to the position you're running. So we look for your experiences related to the position, and it serves to reinforce what you have submitted on your nomination form that you fill out online. We review the time commitment, and so based on the activities that you are currently involved, either with your current role or place of employment, and other committees or responsibilities you may have related to your nursing profession and or employment, and then considering the time commitment required for the leadership position. So we just kind of gauge to see whether or not it will be manageable, and also to help you see from your perspective whether or not you will be able to manage the time commitment. What else would there be? I know there's about 7 or 8 questions that we asked, and I could probably pull that up, but I didn't want to lose my screen, my presentation screen.
I typed a few into your chat log there. Some of the questions that have been asked before, what motivates you to apply for this position, talking about your professional experience beyond your own country. Already mentioned
yes, yeah, exactly. Experiences, yeah, international experiences, and again, that is depending on your position that you are considering for running. So obviously, board of directors, we do look for international experience. What do we want to gain your perspective in terms of critical challenges for Sigma in the future, and so kind of getting your ideas of what you anticipate and how you can contribute to addressing those challenges with regards to the position that you're running for.
And one more question in regards to online campaigning. Could they make a Facebook page or a Twitter account, or what are their campaigning options?
Okay, so as far as campaigning options, you are, again, relegated to the times assigned for campaigning during the biennium. We do print, we will ask you if you are selected for the ballot, you will be asked to provide a bias sketch. That bias sketch is placed on the convention newsletter. I want to say newsletter, but it's really like almost like a newspaper. So all of the candidates' bias sketches are placed on that for the House of Delegates to consider. And they do get an electronic version of this newsletter ahead of time, and so many chapters, chapter leadership. For example, I did this with my chapter is, have a membership meeting and ask for memberships consideration in terms of who they would like to vote for in those selected offices. And then typically the delegates to the convention will take that information with them and vote for those persons per their chapter membership. And so, and then of course in the campaigning itself at the event, at the biennium, you will have assigned times to be with your poster and to hand out your campaign materials. Outside of that, those times, delegate members will have the opportunity to walk around and review your posters. And again, the importance of being present at the biennium is that you are able to interact with the constituents, the delegates, and answer any questions they may have related to the office and why you're running for office. So we don't encourage the online campaigning, the Facebook, and so on.
Great, thank you.